Oh, it is telling me I'm doing it live. Oh, ooh, that is exciting. That is very exciting. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for YouTubeicity? I'm on the YouTube, Dad! Why am I so small on this screen? What the hell? There we go. That's right. You know, just like real life, I'm actually 36 feet tall. You can see the sun. That's to scale. I am a fucking giant among men. But what is up? How goes it? How y'all doing? My cherry being big popped on YouTube here. And yeah, this is exciting. This is exciting. I feel, I feel so alive for the very first time. Yeah, that's what we need here. Some fucking classical music to set this off. Yeah, buddy. The question is, will copyright free mean I won't get demonetized for this? Pro streamer on YouTube. So let me tell you about how I fucked this up, right? Because you think that, like, this being my first YouTube stream, I'd fuck up the YouTube part. No. I straight up forgot that I have to open VTube Studio before OBS or it doesn't, like, actually move. And I'm just standing there. What the fuck was that? Hold on. It looks like Mike Tyson just fucking punched me in the face. POV or Mike Tyson punching someone in the face. The hair flip, yeah. I whip my hair back and forth. I whip my hair back and forth. I whipped my hair back and forth so hard, I glitched out of existence. That is how hard I go in the paint here. Oh, man. But yeah, I'm glad is everything, like, seeming to be working so far on your end, Amethyst? Is the screen good? Is the volume good? Is, like, I don't know. Is the spiritual energy good, I guess? I'm not sure what else I haven't really covered in there. Looking good? Let's go! Let's go! So, now, I want you to know for this, I suffered for this. I stuck every single one of these up my ass, but not for no reason. Not for no reason. Maybe I should do a live announcement in the Discord. Maybe. However, I'm too far gone at this. Actually, I could literally just pull it up and be like, hey, betches, I'm live. Yeah, I don't actually know how to, like, get the stream link. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that here. There we go. The best Discord message. Am live. There we go. There we go. But yes, I have shoved all of these video game consoles, all of these right here, up my ass. And do you know why I shoved these up my ass? Not for no reason. Not merely for context. But for science. And that science is for our brothers who are incarcerated. Our fellow gamers behind bars. So that they too might be able to experience the joys, the unrequited bliss of gaming. And to do that, they will have to smuggle one of these consoles into prison. And I have done the research to see which is the best console, or which are the best consoles, because there are more than one. There may be. I won't give spoilers. However, of all these consoles, I have to tell you one thing. It was a pain in the ass. Now, we can't just do these anyway, right? We have to have some law and order. That is the wrong sticky note. Hold on, let me pull up my sticky note. We have criteria here, because professionals have standards. I like how that just made this sticky note bigger and didn't actually fucking enlarge the font of this whatsoever. But here's what we will be judging the criteria on. The system size and shape. Because you have to know the size and shape plays a very big role on the, ability to keister it into prison. The game size and shape. Not all games are considered equal. The battery or the cord. Is there a battery? Is there a cord? Because one way, they've got to get in there. They've got to get in there with you. The game library, because, real gamers will keister as much as many games as it takes for us to achieve our glorious goal of gaming. And lastly, battery life. Because let's be real, even in prison, you want to do those marathons. I was like marathon game nights and I almost said marathites. You have to do those marathites. But let us start with the first one. And I had to plumb the depths to find this before it plumbed my depths. But if you have never seen this guy right here, that is actually what is known as the Atari Lynx. It was released by the Atari Corporation in 1989 and was the first handheld game console with a liquid crystal display. Now, at its time, it went for $179.99. But I ask you gamers, can you really put a price on gaming? I don't think so. Now, the issue with this is, it is a very old system. You're probably not going to be able to find it. But if you can find it, it will be your 16-bit. I'm not gonna say best in slot, but let's look at it. Let's look at first off the features here, right? This doesn't really do a full view, but it's you know, mostly large, mostly flat. So going on up in there, it was nice. There's not a lot of buttons sticking out here. And that is a very important thing. And that is something with most gaming consoles. You notice that most of these don't have a lot sticking off of them. Except for this bad boy. So, this one is slid in pretty easily. It's a nice shape, you know, it kind of widens out, narrows in the middle, and then gives you a little kiss as it widens back out the other side. You know, it's rounded off, which is another very important thing. So, bear that in mind, that with this Atari Lynx, you don't really have the best game selection. It was Atari. Let me actually see how many games for the Atari Lynx. So this one here, it did have about 71 rows here, so not too bad. You could get around 73 titles. There's the one. There is the one. 73, but you also have to find them. Now, the one thing I couldn't actually find for this one, and let me see if I can find it right now, is the game cartridges. Let's see, Atari Lynx game cartridges. And really, they're almost like the DS cartridges, which aren't the worst, you know. They're slim, they're a little round. Now, they're a little sharp edges, which you've got to be careful with those sharp edges, right? You have to be very, very cautious, because if you just stick the sharp edge up in there, especially if you're not paying attention, you'll get a little pinch. You'll get a little, hello, sailor. And you don't want that. You don't want that at all. Yes, bear that. Bear that. Indeed, indeed. So overall, for the game cartridges, pretty doable, pretty doable. You could probably get 5 to 10 in a go, you know. Shove them on in there, maybe, you know, a little bit of Vaseline, you're good to go. You can just wipe the Vaseline off after. Now, we need to look at the gaming stats, the battery life. Now, here's where it gets rough, right? So, the Lynx 1, there's two models, the Lynx 1 and Lynx 2. You're only getting about 4 hours of gaming in there. And for that 4 hours of gaming, you need to shove 6 AA batteries up your ass. Also, hello, Trixel. So yes, you have to shove 6 AA batteries, and I'm going to tell you something, that is horrible. That is not fun at all. Listen. I basically became like a K-pop light stick. There were so many batteries up in me at one given time. So that's where it really falls apart for this one. So for this, I can't give it higher than the C tier. And really the C tier is mainly because of its shape. Now, coming up next, we've got this beast, which let me pull this up because it's a little hard to actually see this one here, but I think this is Is that the Sega one? I can't actually see what that one is. Hold on. It looks very familiar. I'm gonna pull it onto my bigger screen here real quick. I believe that is the Sega one. Yes, I believe that is the Sega one. No, that's... Okay, you know what? You know what? This one here... Does anyone know what console... We're gonna come back to that one, okay? We're skipping that one for now. If not, we're gonna use this as a stand-in for a Steam Deck, because that's like the only one... Or one of like two that I couldn't really find the details on. But next... the Nintendo, and we're actually going to go with the OG DS, right? We're not going to start with the DS Lite, we're going to start with the OG DS. Now, the OG DS, there's a couple problems right on. Remember how I said this one was nice, you know, kind of round, everything like that? This one is very square, and unless you have experience, and if you do have experience, I just want to know, chat, why? Why do you have experience with that, huh? You're making me lose my hair. I'm worried for you. Why do you have experience shoving round things versus square things up your ass? Ashamed of you. So ashamed of you. It scared me. There we go. Yes, it scares me. Why? Why do you know this, chat? Why? But just trust me, round's better than square thing. Why are you kink shaming? Listen, that is an incredibly specific kink. If you specifically have the kink of, I only like shoving square things up my ass, not round things. Listen, in the end of the day, shove what you want up in there, but like, I don't know if anyone has specifically the square. It goes in the square hole. I don't know, maybe people just have different shaped buttholes that I'm aware of. But also, the original DS, it was kind of girthy, honestly. It had some weight, so had to, you know, kind of wiggle it around, shake it, you know, shimmy it up in there. So that took a while. Now, the one very nice thing about the 3DS is you can also have Game Boy Advance games up in there. So we not only have to look, because we're looking at, okay, how many games can you fit up there in total? So, in total for the 3DS, let's see, hold on, let me see. How many DS games were there? So, you get a lot more gaming, right? The Lynx had about 74 games. This one has 3,467 just DS games. Just DS games, right? That one console could be a GP2K by Linux. Okay, I'll look at that afterwards. I think you're right. Mine is shaped like a flower, so you got that right. I feel ya. I feel ya. Mine is actually the entire solar system in asshole format. That's what I'm rocking with up there. That's what I'm rocking with. But you have 3,467 games on just the DS. But you have to remember, this also has the ability for advanced games. So, and that's another 15,000 or 1,538, not 15,000. Good lord. Could you imagine that? Lots of space. Yes, exactly. I needed to keister 5,000 games for this, Amethyst. Do not underestimate the power, the raw, unadulterated strength and vacuousness of my anus. Thank you very much. But yeah, so you get 5,000 games here, which honestly, weight per weight of games is good, but listen, the DS games are fine. The advanced games, if you don't know what a Game Boy Advance game looks like, let me pull it up here. Let me pull up an image here for you. A cartridge. There we go. So I need to very specifically here actually. So let me pull up this picture and I will show you guys what this cartridge looks like. Right, you see this thing right here? You see this little gap right here? You might not think that's a big deal. You might not think it is, but trust me. It pinch. It pinched real bad, y'all. It pinched real bad. So on that end here, you know, I can't fault it for that because that's just extra games. But, you know, it is still something to be aware of. That will be a knock against the advanced games, not the DS, because that's just bonus games for the DS, right? Now, for the DS, you're probably looking at like 15 to 19 hours on lowest settings, 5 to 8 hours on brightest. So we'll average that out, say like what, 7 to 8 hours there. So overall, you're also getting a lot more game time than you are on the Lynx. So overall, it's a little beefier. It's a little, you know, got a little more going on there. But you're supposed to store them all in baggies first. Listen, the bag go in. The bag go in, and then the bag pinch you. It's not as bad as just raw dogging it, but you'll still feel it. Trust me. I'm speaking from experience here. I went through this, okay? I felt things. Felt horrible, horrible things from this. I've suffered, but it's okay. I did this so that you would not have to suffer in my wake. Oh man, I love those toggles. Hold up here. Hold the fuck up. Sir, can you... No? Okay. Model, can you... Yes. You need to be bigger. There we go. Alright. Yeah, I'm just gonna put this up here just so you can kind of see. Let me give y'all some upper thigh action. But yes, you know, baggies will help, but they will not prevent. Trust me. So this one, I'm gonna put it, you know... I'm actually gonna put this one up in A tier. This one's not that bad. This one's quality. Now the DS Lite, really pretty much everything, you know, applies. The only thing that actually I haven't touched on this, that is actually gonna knock this to a B that I almost forgot, the charger. The DS charger is it's a hefty boy. On the bright side, it does have a charger, so you have the advantage that you can recharge, so you only have to keister it once. But trust me, again, I know you could stick it in a bag, but that plug flips out while it's up in there, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna have a horrible time. So, also, another nice thing about this, and something I didn't cover with the Lynx, the DS and the DS Lite both have a huge advantage on almost every other thing here. Well, also the DS Mini, really, which will probably put these two up in A tier. But these have foldable screens, right? And again, if the bag goes wrong, actually no, I'm sorry, I forgot. See, I didn't feel it with the DS and the DS Lite, but for the DS Mini, it got pinched between the screens. So that will not lay up them or down them, because believe it or not, the screens are kind of hard to keep protected up in there, right? It's very hard to keep screens from cracking in your ass. Maybe it's just because I have Kegels that rival gods themselves, so it's real tight up in there. However, you can't fault it one way or another. But let me go ahead. I'm just going to put the DS Lite. I'm going to put this one slightly higher. And really, you can choose the order you want between DS Lite and DS Mini, right? I'm going to tell you right now, it depends on your priorities as a gamer. If you have a smaller butthole, you might not be able to handle the full DS Lite. You might need to go DS Mini. But if you could find it within yourself, and I do mean literally, if you could find it within yourself, these things got lost, guys. It was very hard to deal with. But if you can find it within yourself, if you can muster up the strength to get the Lite in there, you are going to have a much better gaming experience with the Lite than with the Mini, okay? I think this one's called the Mini. It's like a smaller version of the DS. I don't remember the exact name. Alright. Game Boy Advance, right? You know, overall, one huge advantage that this does have over, well, I would say in general advantage with one huge qualifier, right? The huge advantage is the shape over this. This is much easier to slide up in there, right? It's just gonna, help you stretch it out a bit, and then it's gonna narrow down for you. Unlike these ones, which are just like, you're taking the full brunt right away. But, if you're not familiar with the Game Boy Advance, right, the back bumpers, there's a little space there, and oh boy, if it gets pinched, it can A, rip the bag, which is not good, right? Because you want your bag intact. You don't want a shitty gaming system in more than one way, which is what this tier list is for. You're welcome. But if you get a little bit of flesh pinched in there, you're gonna have some internal bleeding. It's going to be bad. It's going to be very, very, very bad. Now, again, the charger, it's not much better or worse than the DS's. I think it's almost the same charger, actually. So that one, it's gonna be up in there. But wait, hold on. Am I thinking of something else? Let's see. GBA battery. Agba battery. I could spell things. Okay, so yeah, this one actually does have battery packs. So this one does use. Sorry, I was thinking. It uses the CRT TO32. So yeah, you can. I believe this one you can recharge. I want to say you can recharge it. So this one here, not really better or worse than the DS for that one as far as it goes. But this one has half the game for the DS. So this one's going to be a C tier, but it's definitely ahead of the Lynx, okay? Now, the Nintendo Switch, right? One of the newer systems. Now, there's a ton of games on the Switch, right? But this one's almost more of a home system than a console system, right? It's like a hybrid system. So, there's a couple things you need to be aware of. Hold on. First, I just tried to see. First, you might think, hey, it's a system. You're going to have a lot of games, right? And on its own, yes, it does have 4,525 games. I'm not sure if that's counting Virtual Console and everything there. But in total, it has 4,525 games. But you've got to remember, some of those games might be digital only, and you're not going to download games in prison, right? So that's one knock against the Switch. The other knock against the Switch, right, is just its size. Yeah, that's a lot of games to pocket, especially if you get the Steel Case Collector's Edition, which I highly recommend you don't if you're going to prison. But, one, if you have the controllers, it's really easy for them to get switched off, kind of ripped and bent while they're up there, because they're being mobile in the keister. They're not just sitting there nicely unless you've got impossible kegel control. You're going to be schmoving, you're going to be shaking. Let me grab a drink. So there's going to be a lot you're going to have to deal with there. So, that being said, it's kind of it's one of the more dangerous consoles to move because, it has kind of external peripherals that are attached. Now, you could also go the method of removing the controllers, but that gives you some sharp edges you're working with, and just trust me, you don't want to deal with sharp edges, all up in your colon. You will suffer, chat. You will suffer. It will be horrible, painful, you'll cry, the, security guard will ask what the fuck is wrong with you. It's gonna be... But if someone else tucks one too, then you could have Mario Kart parties. That is true. There is local multiplayer, which is a huge advantage that I actually didn't consider. So good call out there, Amethyst. But how many people are going to be willing... how many true elite gamers are there in prison willing to make this sacrifice? Another thing that you have to worry about is controller drift. And I don't mean like the controller drift that the Switch is known for. I mean one of the controllers breaking loose and, making its way downtown, walking fast up your ass. It's to make bound. Diddly diddly doo, diddly diddly doo. Trust me, you don't want to experience that. I have experienced it. and I have suffered. Now, the one also nice thing about the Switch is that the games are very small, so you do have that advantage. But one of its biggest disadvantages, and you might think this is an advantage, is its screen size. Because before I said, hey, the DS Lite is better than the DS Mini or whatever this was called because of its bigger screens. But those were screens that were enclosed. This much screenage area, it is very hard not to break all up in there, okay? So, you're playing with fire. And this one's so bigger, and it seems like it's a little more brittle than the other consoles. So, you have to bear that in mind. Now, I haven't gone over the worst part of the Switch. If you've never owned a Switch, and this is part of it being a handheld console, it's meant to be able to play on your TV, and that is also how it charges. And if you don't know how it charges, this is the Nintendo Switch dock. It is the size of the Nintendo. It's bigger than the actual Switch itself in some fashions. It's thicker. It's not as long if you have the controllers plugged in, but it is about 2.5 times as thick, right? So, a lot's going to go through you if you decide to do this, right? It's going to be very painful, and for that reason, Switch is actually going to be my lowest one, purely because of the, of the charging station. Like, its battery life is okay for a handheld, I guess. Let me pull up, see exactly what it is here. Yeah, its battery life is like 4.5 to 9 hours, but the second you have to charge it, right? The second you have to charge it, you're dealing with basically the Hulk Ash Destroyer of video games. And that's just not a problem that you want to deal with, right? So just don't do it. Do not do that, right? Alright, let's pull up. Let me see if that is the GP2K by Linux. Let's see, images. Okay, yes, we're gonna say this is the GP2K by Linux. So, this one here, when it went in there, honestly, it's you can see it is very thick. It's like two Switches back to back. And the Switch itself is not the thickest, but it's also not the thinnest. It's about average, so you're going double average here. So, you have to bear that in mind. And again, that's if you can even find this one. It is very hard. But, if you do manage to find one, you are going to have yourself a gaming experience for... Let's see how many games this has. Let's see. A little over 500 games, it looks like. So you still get a decent amount of games to be able to play on it, but it's not going to be the best experience, right? So you have to bear that in mind. Now, as far as the shape goes, you have a decent amount of wiggle room on it, It's rounded for the most part. There is this sharp edge that does make things a little bit complicated. And let's see. I'm trying to find the battery life here, and I'm just not really finding it. So, I'm seeing like some about 6 hours, but, and yeah, this is surprising about a game, but honestly, this again does have one fatal flaw, and that's this controller right here. Now, it's not the only one with this flaw, but it is by far the worst offender. If the plastic gets in here, it can rip. If your asshole gets in here, it can rip. And you don't want to deal with that. So for that, I am going to put it ahead of the Switch, but it is in D tier. Now, the Nokia the Nokia, I believe that's the N-Gage. Yeah, the Nokia N-Gage. So, Nokia N-Gage is, again, not one of the, you know, more popular systems, but if you could find it, you know, it'll do you. It'll do you in a pinch. Now, one of the nice things is the shape of this, right? Has a little bit of a thicker arch here, but all in all, it's very rounded. It's very, you know, it's keister friendly in that sense. Yeah, that it is by Nokia, so it does, you know, it makes sense. It looks like a cell phone, and it almost is like a hybrid cell phone gaming system. So, you know, there is that. Now, as far as the, you know, the games it has on it, let's see what this is looking at for games, right? Let's see what we're looking at for the games. And I believe these are all downloadable, right? So, let's see. We've got here about, let's see. Looks like about between everything, maybe about a little over 65 games, which isn't really that great. So you're not getting a lot of gaming, right? That looks like a cell phone company. Yeah, it is made by a cell phone company. Nokia was a cell phone company. It's still a cell phone company, I think. So the bright thing about Nokia is they're durable as shit. This thing will never break. You do not have to worry. You could shove this wherever you want to. You could get it all the way up into the small intestines and you will be absolutely fine. No risk of this breaking whatsoever. But let's see the battery life on this, right? Because we need to know the battery life. So, this one is interesting because if you're gaming, it only has about 4 hours. But if you're not gaming, it can last up to 200 hours. But we're gamers, so we only care about the 4 hours. So, again, not the best. And let's see. And the charger, it looks, you know, it literally is basically just a phone charger. So, you know, have you ever looked at a phone charger and said, I want to shove this up my ass? No. No sphincter crushing that baby. Exactly. No matter how many Kegels you'll do. So this one here, it's still a little bit better than these because it doesn't have as fatal of flaws. But it's probably at the bottom. Actually, I'll put it slightly above Link's. Just from the time frame, the games are probably better quality. Now, PSP and PS Vita, right? Now you're getting into some higher end gaming consoles. Now, they both do share the same kind of issue as the Switch, where with the large surface area, you will have some issues with them going and cracking up in your ass. These are not like the Nokia. You can sphincter crush these babies, okay? Be aware of that, be safe, be cautious. Gamers, if you're going to prison, you're risking a lot with this, right? It's a high risk, high reward play. That's what it is. Right? You have the high risk that the screen's going to crack and your ass is going to become a bloody mess. But to counter that, you have the reward of probably two of the highest end, you know, consoles on here. So, let's start off with the Vita, right? Let's start off with the Vita. How many games does the Vita have? Now, oh wow, I fucked that up. How many games does the PS Vita have? We're doing some market research here, right? So, a solid library of 1,743 games. So that's very, you know, very solid game library. And let me just check one thing here, because I always switch. And yes, the nice thing about this, and this is not something I could say about the PSP, PS Vita games are decently small in size, right? You're going to be able to fit 10, 20, 30 up there at a time. If you're not familiar with the PS Vita games, I'll show you. They're not that much worse than the DS games, right? They even have a little bit more rounded edge, so they're a little bit nicer in that aspect. But there's also the matter of the charger and the battery life. So let's check the charger first. Okay, you know what? Charger, not bad. We're looking at, pretty standard cell phone charger setup. So again, still a pain in the ass. Now, actually, I'll bring this back here and I'll pull up this one. Because one thing you need to know, and you might not think this is a big difference, but this actually is kind of a negative for it. This doesn't look like it retracts. Some will fold back in. This looks like it's a straight plug, which does mean you're going to have the issue of it just pointed on in there, and it'll probably poke through the bag, poke all up into your ass. And that's just a problem. That is a very painful problem, right? So you do have to be aware of that. Now, let's see how much life you get for that. Let's see what you got here. Let's see. PS Vita battery life. Let me get off of images here. Okay, so you're only getting 5 hours per charge of this, but it is a charge, so that automatically bumps it up. So, I'm gonna say PS Vita goes, for the quality of games you're getting, because it's a lot more powerful than the Switch. Yeah, I feel comfortable with this. I feel comfortable. 5 hours is a good time between the guard checking in. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I feel confident putting that at the top of B tier. If you value safety more than gaming experience, which, understandable, you want your console to be able to last, you might want to go with the DS Lite. But with the Vita, you do have some options there. You do have some availability. All right, now let's talk about the PSP, right? The PSP has one of the best shapes for keystering, right? It does have the fatal flaw with the screen, but as far as the shape of the actual console itself, it's basically the Rolls Royce of video game consoles for your asshole. So you have to be aware of that, You're dealing with a quality product not only in video games, but also in, in comfort. Let's see. How many consoles does it, or how many PSP games are there? I wish I could actually type the full thing I'm thinking of. How many PSP games are there? How many games came out for the PSP? 807, so you're actually dealing with a surprisingly small library for the PSP. I'm kind of surprised on that. And how about for the games? How do the games look? Because if I remember right, these games were rough. But I'm going to double check myself. I'm going to make sure. Okay, yes, yeah. These are probably the worst games you'll have to keister. Look at this behemoth. Yeah, it's a much smoother ride, but the passengers are all assholes. Technically, the vehicle's an asshole as well. However, we're not gonna think about that too much. But yeah, look at this UMD disc. That is just bad. That is just bad. And the charger, I'm pretty sure it's almost the same as... Yeah, it's almost the same as the PSP charger. It's actually or the PS Vita charger. It's actually a little bit worse because you have this big thick thing and then you've got this. So it's a two-parter. It is 2 parts of pain right there. D tier because of the shape. Honestly, it's looking there. The only thing that might save it to C tier is the fact that the game quality themselves, they do have some pretty great game quality. Now, the battery life. Let's see what the battery life is looking like. Around 4 hours or so, so not amazing, not bad. But purely for the game type alone, I'll put it at the top because it is a quality system. But it is also, it's again high risk, high reward. The games themselves are going to be an actual nightmare. So that one you just got to be very careful with. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the Sega Game Gear. And the Sega Game Gear, if this was the Rolls Royce, this is the Ford Pinto of games consoles to keister. It's thick, it's awkward, it has that weird controller dips that sometimes cause pinching. You don't want to deal with that, chat. You don't want to deal with that. Right? So, let's go ahead and see how many games were there for the Sega Game Gear. I'm actually not too familiar with this system. You know, there's only 366 games, and I'm going to tell you right now, the cartridges are a little bit hard to find. They're basically like double DS games. So think like a DS cartridge, and here, it's a little hard to find an image, but I managed to find one. Yeah, it's basically, let me pull it up here. Right, they're basically like larger, thicker DS games, which isn't really comfortable. They're very awkward. I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it. Oh my god, eBay is still a thing? I just realized I pulled that up on eBay. But let's see. That's not the only thing though, right? This is an older system, so it might actually have batteries. Nope, it is a charger. What is that charger? Oh god. Yeah, I remember this one now. Listen. Shape-wise, it's actually not the worst. But you could tell there's only one way you could push this in, and that's this end first, right? So you run into what might be called a rat tail. If you're not very careful, you might be out here looking like you got, you know, got a little extra anatomy up there. It is a great shape, yes. It is fantastic. And for the low price of $24.99, it could be all yours. But how long does it last? Let's check here, let's check. Oh, wow. Let's see. Oh, never mind. Yeah, the Game Gear required 6 AA batteries. So again, I guess it actually did have batteries that you need to charge it with. So I'm not sure what we were looking at before, but it only got 3 hours. So this is like bottom of the barrel here. This is bottom of the barrel, and I can never remember how to spell this one. Sega McMad. All right. Well, while I'm pulling it up, I'm gonna tell you it has a lot of similar issues with the Sega Game Gear, but McMahon? Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to remember the name of this one. I looked this one up before. It's not the Game Gear. There it is, the Sega Nomad. There we go. Listen. It may be called the Nomad, but you'll be big mad once it's in your butthole. Trust me. Trust me on this. Makes for an easier release. A little bit. But listen, this game console is just not great for basically anything. And I mean, I'll pull up just so you can kind of see what the consoles look like in here. These games are some of the biggest games. Look at the size of that thing. That is enormous. That's not a small game. You're not going to be able to keister more than like 1 or 2 of those. So it's just not worth it. Plus, I mean, the charger, again, standard battery charger, nothing crazy left on that end. Hold on, I removed Nomad, but yeah, it's about the same charger. So if y'all want to see it, that's the Sega Nomad charger. Again, it's kind of thick, it's gonna be painful. There's no flexible with the prongs. So you're just gonna have an all-around bad time with this. Don't do this to yourself, chat. Okay, you deserve better. Oh, those were big, yes. How many games do you get with them, though? Let's see how many games. Do you at least get a good bang for your buck? I'd be kind of surprised if you did. 500 games. Okay. And it can also boot unlicensed homebrew games. So if you want to develop games, you can get a little artsy with this one. So I'm going to tell y'all right now. This goes at the bottom of the D tier. It's just a worse version of the Game Gear, okay? It's just a worse version. Okay, and then let's pull up this Gamecom. Now, the Gamecom, again, has a lot of similar issues. You know, it's a thick boy, right? It's insanely... It's actually called the Game.com, which I think is funny. They named the actual gaming system Game.com. That's amazing. But the game itself, it runs on 4 AA batteries or an optional AC adapter. So again, you're either going to have to, you know, keister AA batteries or keister an adapter. It's not really a great, you know, system on either end for that. There's going to be a lot going on there. And let's see how many games. Let's see how many games. So how many Gamecoms are there? There's only 20 video games for this. That is the worst value ever. That is almost insultingly bad. So, you know what? For that end alone, I have to put this even lower than the rest. Even lower. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Alright, so the 2DS, we know the DS, right? They had about the same... They had about 3,500 games, so they're good on that end. You know, the charger, it is a charger, so it's going to be painful. But listen, guys, have you ever looked at an axe and said, I want that in my asshole? No. And there's a reason for that. Trust me on this. Listen, it might look like it's going to help you out here. No, it's going to split you in ways you weren't meant to be split, okay? It's going to be very painful. So for that, we're going to put it, you know, below the Switch, but it's still not as bad as these, right? It's still not as bad as these. It's splitting those cheeks, exactly. Some people have split personalities. You try keistering that, you're going to have some split ass cheeks, man. Alright, so the Game & Watch systems are a little bit... They're a little bit different because a lot of them were basically programmed with games. So you get one game, it's a handheld video game. You know, some do have more, but you might not be getting a lot. It might be good for the price point, but if you're going to be locked up, you don't want good for the price point, but not a lot. You want to splurge. You want to treat yourself and your ass, okay? You want to treat yourself and your ass. So, let's check the battery life on this, because these are usually like one and done, right? So, you're looking at, when fully charged, 8 hours of playtime. Solitaire for life, yeah. So 8 hours of playtime. It's really hard to judge size and shape on these because they're not really that great. But I mean, on shape alone, they're generally more forgiving than these. So I'm gonna put this around here, but no, I can't even put it that high. We'll put this around here. But your tier list may vary depending on if you value ease of access, ease of getting it in, or, you know, ease of gameplay. There's some trade-offs there. It's, you know, a little bit spicy. It's a little bit of an enigma, a little bit of a thing. So, after that, we have the good old-fashioned Game Boy. The original, baby. This was actually... No, I didn't own it. I didn't have the original Game Boy. Like, I was around in that generation, but I came in with the Game Boy Color. So, original Game Boy, right? It's a big, thick brick. and it runs off of 4 AA batteries. So not only do you have to keister, the game console, you're gonna have to keister 4 AA batteries, and you have to be careful with it as well because this doesn't have a charger. OG Pokemon for days. Yes, that is true. That is true. It does have some classic games on it. And that's one thing I didn't talk about as well was quality of games. And the reason I specifically didn't do quality of games is, when you're in prison long enough, you're going to be worried about quantity more so than quality. I can almost guarantee it. There are some that had, consistently good quality games, which are nice, but I would say go with one of the DSs for just the quantity of games as well for how long you're going to be in there. Actually, you know what? Purely for that, I'm going to switch these two. I'm going to adjust. But how many Game Boy games are there? Let's find out. 1,046 games for the original Game Boy. Any entertainment is good entertainment. At that point, yes. So 1,046 is actually surprisingly respectable. And for that, I'm going to put it... Yeah, I'm going to put it right here. I don't think I could give it as good as the Game Boy Advance. I don't think I could give it as good as, the PlayStations and the Vitas of the world. I feel like I'm pretty much just ordering this in release date that they came out. Like, this seems like very familiar with the exception of the 2DS. Because again, don't axe your asshole. It is a thick boy. Now, Game Boy Color, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's basically just an upgraded version of the Game Boy in every way, right? Like, it's going to have mostly the same flaws, mostly the same hardware, mostly the same games, so, you're not really going to be... It's... Let me put it this way. The Game Boy Color is basically just better Game Boy, right? Because you could still... I'm pretty sure it's backwards compatible, so you can play all the games. It does have slightly less overall with 917 of its own. But I'm still going to put it slightly higher because, look, you can see through it. It's fantastic. It's also, a little bit more rounded. You want to make sure you insert through this end. This end's going to be very painful. This end has a little bit of give to it, though. So it's very, very, important that you figure it. As long as it's see-through, you'll get more credit in the yard. Exactly, exactly. You'll be the coolest kid pulling that Game Boy out of your ass, honestly. Alright, now the Microvision Blockbuster. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I've mentioned use bags before. This one, for the battery, double bag it, triple bag it. However many batteries you need more, or you think you need like double that. And to tell you why that is, right? This runs on a 9-volt battery. Have you ever placed your tongue in a 9-volt battery? It shocks you. I shocked the inside of my asshole, chat. I've been through things. I've been through horrible, horrible things because of this. It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. That being said, the shape of the console is absolutely lit. If, this was the Rolls Royce of keystering, this is like the Ferrari. Yeah, it's a spicy stuffer for the batteries, but the actual shape of it is fantastic. I could not give high enough marks. 10 out of 10 would insert in my ass again. Now, that being said, that's where the positives end, because this screen is actually tiny. The screen has almost nothing to it. It's very tiny. It's not great. It has a 9-volt battery. So, I mean, you're gonna be in a bad situation. Let's see. Let's check out the battery. Let's check out how many games on this. I don't think there's a lot for this. I mean, I'd never even heard of this. Yeah, it only has 12 games, okay? And, it had technical problems. The LCD screen is damaged, so you might not even get to play. It's bad. It's just really bad. Easiest journey in through the worst. I can't even find the battery life in this. So just listen, I'm gonna put it like I'll put it here purely for its ease of use. It's still D tier, right? It's still D tier, but and that's a big but. Technically a small but would work as well. But you will enjoy the ride. You will have a much better ride than you would otherwise, okay? Just telling you that right now. Now, we only have 2 more consoles left before one other that I'm going to look at. This one I can't... This one I remember it, but I can't remember what it's called, so if anyone knows that. This one, though... Oh god, this one. Chat. Let me tell you a horror story. There's a console, but that's not all. There's a controller, but that's not all. This console has peripherals. Let me tell you this horror. That is the Virtual Boy. This has changed me. First off, with the Virtual Boy, right? You have a controller. And listen, that controller is just... It's awkward. It's unwieldy. It's like you're... It doesn't have a good angle for insertion. You've got to basically boomerang it, like stick this one in, wrap this whole thing around, and then stick this out. It's going to get stuck up in there. It's going to be painful. And then you've got a stand, right? This system needs a stand. It has a stand as a peripheral, okay? That is just painful, man. The stand, like, it's got metal prongs, it's got sharp, it's not good, chat. It's not good. And then it has this thing, which let me get y'all a better picture of the Virtual Boy here. Listen, this is what the whole thing looks like. That's like shoving a Big Mac container made out of fucking iron up your ass. No, exactly. No. It is a hard fucking no. And that being said, I just can't justify it. I mean, you're going to suffer if you try this one, and it's not even worth it. The systems are horrible. The games aren't that good. If you've ever played this, it actually gives you motion sickness. There's only 22 games for it. So you know what? Going at the very bottom, this might be the worst. This might be the worst system ever. Might be. Alright, let me remember what the name of this one is. Alright, I actually... I don't think I could find this one, so we're going to use this as a stand-in. The last one is a Turbo Express. Okay. Turbo Express? Man, that sounds way better than ExpressVPN. Turbo Express. Looks like TI-80 made this. Wait. Oh, damn. It really was kind of made it. Alright, so. Downsides, right? This is a thick boy. It's going to stretch you a little bit. On the, on the upside, it has cat ears. It is the only video game console with cat ears, right? So, I am more willing to insert that rectally than most other consoles on this list. Now, that being said, that's about, again, where the good things end. It has 6 AA batteries or a 6-volt AC adapter, which is going to be incredibly painful. You're not going to enjoy that. You're not going to enjoy that. Right? So, that's going to be a pain in the ass, or multiple pains in the ass, depending on how you can go, if you can find a charger or not. Let's see how many games it had. And let's see. I can't really find how many It's kind of hard to find how many games this has, which just lets you know how kind of obscure it is. But I'm gonna tell you this purely for the cat ears. I'm putting it up here. I'm putting it up here. Now, that being said, chat, have I had this up here the whole time? What the hell am I doing? Alright, we're gonna move that. Oh, that's funny, that's been up there the whole time. Now, chat, there's something I have to tell you. And I'm gonna get a little bit, you know, a little bit more up in personal here with you. I need to let you know the severity of this. There's one handheld console that's not on here. It's the Steam Deck. You know how thick that is, chat? You know how thick the Steam Deck is? I would tell you what it was like to sneak it in there, to keister and remove it, but I can't, chat. I can't. And do you know why that is, chat? Do you know why? I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna get up real close to tell you this. It's still in there. I couldn't remove it. Send help! Never, ever, ever try to keister the Steam Deck. You may think there's a lot of games, but let me tell you something. They don't have physical cartridges. They only have downloadable games. So, if by some miracle you manage to get it unlodged or projectiled out, and the constipation just cannot be held, and it goes out like the floodgates of the Hoover Dam, that's when the horror begins. As you go, you'll boot it up. The battery life isn't that great. And then, chat, then comes the worst part. You can't download any games in prison. You just smuggled in the most painful system in your life. You can't play it. And then, chat, only then will you know true fear. Only then will you really understand suffering. Only then will you figure out who is Sergeant Piss Piss and why are they playing VR, chat. Oh well, whatever. But that concludes the Keister tier list. And now, one thing I want you to notice here, right? You see how there's two tiers here, the A and the S tier? It's ironic that nothing is going in the ass, considering the nature of this. But nothing got higher than a B tier. So overall, I want you to take two lessons away from this. The first lesson is that if you're going to prison, my recommendation, or the best console to try and shove up your ass to smuggle in there, it's going to be the DS Lite. Now, my second lesson for you, just don't go to prison. Just don't do it, chat. Don't do illegal shit. Don't put yourself in the position that you have to smuggle a console up your ass to continue gaming. It's not worth it. Yes, would not recommend. 0 out of 10. Do not do that. Ever. Well, that is about it for the tier list. I know it's a little bit of a shorter stream. I'm going to be kind of playing around, so the streams are probably going to be a little bit shorter to start off with. But let's go ahead and see who is on YouTube that we can, I guess, raid? If we want to do that, if that's a thing. I know raiding on YouTube is kind of like a thing. But let's see. It's great. You have a PNG buddy now. Where? Why? Where did he come from? Go away. Okay, that was weird. I snuck up behind me. I jump scared my damn self. Let's see if anyone I'm subscribed to is live. Alright, I think I'm actually just gonna end it here because I don't really... I'm gonna take it like one step at a time before I try rating, so we'll get into that. However, for now, thank y'all for stopping by. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope that, you know, made you hee hee, ha ha, hoo hoo, chuckle, chortle a little bit. And in the meantime, I will see y'all later. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do you say that during live streams too, or is that like just for videos? I don't even say that during my videos. You know what? Hey, thank you for all your help getting this set up. I'll work on, getting some more cool stuff, so the stream will just get better and better. But in the meantime, I will see y'all later. Y'all have a great night.